Ambassador Vrel had served the Galactic Concord for 40 years. He had seen wars end and new species join the Great Alliance. He had watched stars die and worlds be born. Nothing surprised him anymore. Or so, he thought until the morning the emergency signal came from observation. Post 7. He was sitting in his office on Station Prime, drinking his morning tea, when his assistant rushed in without knocking. The young officer's face was pale, and his hands were shaking as he held out a data tablet. "Ambassador, you need to see this immediately," the assistant said. His voice was barely a whisper. Vrel took the tablet and looked at the screen. At first, he did not understand what he was seeing. A ship had crashed on a planet called Karath 4. Ships crashed all the time. It was sad, but it happened. Why was this so urgent? Then he read the details, and his blood turned cold. Karath 4 was a Class 3 planet. In the Concord system, planets were rated from Class 1 to Class 5. Class 1 planets were paradise worlds, perfect for life. Class 5 planets were dead rocks, too hot or too cold for anything to survive. Class 3 planets were something different. They were the nightmare worlds. They had air you could not breathe, gravity that crushed your bones, and creatures that existed only to kill. No one went to Class 3 planets. No one survived Class 3 planets. The Concord had sent 12 expeditions to Karath 4 over the centuries. None of them came back. And now a ship had crashed there. A ship that was still showing life signs. Vrel set down his tea with a trembling hand. "Show me the footage," he said. His assistant connected the tablet to the large screen on the wall. The image that appeared made Vrel stand up from his chair. The ship was enormous. It was bigger than anything the Concord had ever built. It sat in a valley surrounded by toxic mist, its hull cracked and smoking from the crash. But that was not what made Vrel's heart beat faster. What made him afraid were the figures moving around the wreckage. There were creatures walking on the surface of Karath 4. They moved on 2 legs, through the crushing gravity as if it were nothing. They breathed the poisoned air through simple masks on their faces. They carried tools and supplies from the broken ship, working together like insects building a nest. "What are they?" Vrel asked. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. His assistant swallowed hard. "We ran their image through the database, Ambassador. It took a long time because the match was buried deep in the old archives. Files that have not been opened in thousands of years. And they are called humans, Ambassador. Species 7841. Their home planet is called Earth." Vrel had never heard of humans. He had never heard of Earth. But the look on his assistant's face told him that this was very, very bad news. "What do the archives say about them?" Vrel asked. His assistant pulled up the ancient file. The text was in an old language, but the translation appeared below it. Vrel read it slowly, and with each word, his fear grew deeper. The file described a species that should not exist. Humans came from a world that was harsh and dangerous. They had evolved not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being the most stubborn. They simply refused to die. When the environment tried to kill them, they changed the environment. When predators hunted them, they hunted the predators. When disease struck them down, they got back up. The file contained warnings from ancient Concord explorers who had observed humans from a distance. One passage stood out above all others. "Do not make contact. Do not interfere. Do not let them know we exist. They are not evil, but they are relentless. What they want, they take. What they love, they protect. What tries to kill them, they destroy. They call their greatest weakness their greatest strength. They call it hope." At the bottom of the file, in red letters that still blinked after thousands of years, was a single word: avoid. Vrel stared at the screen for a long time. On the footage, the humans continued their work. They had set up lights around the crash site. They were building shelters from the wreckage of their ship. One of them was even sitting on a rock, eating something from a small container. Eating on a Class 3 planet. As if it were a picnic. "What do we do, Ambassador?" his assistant asked. Vrel did not answer immediately. He watched the humans work. They moved with purpose and efficiency. There was no panic, no chaos. They had crashed on one of the deadliest planets in the galaxy, and they were acting like it was just another problem to solve. "Send more probes," Vrel finally said. "I want eyes on them at all times. And call an emergency meeting of the High Council. They need to see this. Should we attempt contact, Ambassador?" Vrel shook his head slowly. "No, not yet. We watch first. We learn. These creatures survived a crash that should have killed them. They are walking on a world that should have destroyed them in minutes. I need to understand what we are dealing with before we do anything." His assistant nodded and hurried out of the room. Vrel stayed at the window, watching the footage play on repeat. The humans had started a fire now. An actual fire, burning in the toxic atmosphere. They sat around it, talking to each other. One of them laughed at something another said. Laughed. They laughed while death surrounded them on every side. Vrel had lived for a very long time. He had seen many strange things in the galaxy, but he had never seen anything like this. He had never seen a species that looked at impossible odds and smiled. The ancient archives had called humans dangerous. Looking at them now, Vrel understood why. It was not because they had weapons or technology or size. It was because they had something no other species had. They had the ability to look at the universe and say, "I will not lose." Vrel turned away from the screen and walked to his communication panel. He needed to inform the council. He needed to warn them. A species that the ancients had feared had just landed in their territory. And from what he could see, they were not going anywhere. The humans had come to Karath-4 by accident. But Vrel had a feeling that accidents meant nothing to creatures like them. They would turn this disaster into an opportunity. They would make this deadly world their home. And then, Vrel thought, with a chill running down his spine, they would start looking at the stars. The message he sent to the council was short and urgent. It contained only the footage, the ancient file, and 3 words of his own. "They are here." Within an hour, the entire Galactic Concord would know about the humans. Within a day, fear would spread across 1,000 worlds. And on the surface of Karath-4, in the shadow of their broken ship, the humans kept working. They did not know they were being watched. They did not know that an entire galaxy was now afraid of them. They only knew that they had a job to do, and they were going to do it. That was the human way. And the galaxy was about to learn what that truly meant. Captain June stood at the edge of the crash site and looked at what remained of his ship. The Horizon's Edge had been a beautiful vessel once. Now it was a broken skeleton of metal and fire. 17 of his crew had died in the crash. 32 had survived. Those 32 were now his responsibility. The air around him was thick with yellow mist. His breathing mask filtered out the worst of the poison, but he could still taste something bitter on his tongue. The gravity here was almost twice what he was used to. Every step felt like walking through water. His muscles screamed with every movement. But June did not complain. He had a crew to save. "Captain," a voice called out from the wreckage. It was Yuna, his chief engineer. She climbed over a pile of twisted metal, her face covered in dust and sweat. "I found the backup power cells. Most of them are damaged, but I think I can make 3 of them work." "Good," June said. "What about the distress beacon?" Yuna wiped her forehead with her sleeve. "Give me 2 days. Maybe 3. I can rebuild it from parts, but I need time." "You have 1 day," June said. His voice was calm but firm. "We do not know what is out there. We need to call for help as fast as possible. Yuna nodded. She did not argue. She knew the captain was right. She turned and went back to work. June walked through the camp they had made from the wreckage. Everywhere he looked, his crew was busy. Some were sorting supplies. Others were building walls from broken hull plates. A few were digging holes for water collection. Nobody was sitting still. Nobody was giving up. He found Dr. Tay near the medical tent. The doctor was examining samples of the local plants with a small scanner. His eyes were bright with curiosity, even in this terrible situation. Anything useful? June asked. Tay looked up and smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. Most of these plants are poisonous. But this one here, he held up a thick purple leaf. This one might be edible if we cook it long enough. I need to do more tests. Do them fast, June said. Our food supplies will only last 2 weeks. I know, Captain. I am working on it. June put his hand on the doctor's shoulder. I know you are. Thank you. He continued his walk around the camp. The sun was setting now, and the sky turned from yellow to a deep orange. In the distance, he could see mountains covered in strange forests. Somewhere in those forests, creatures were moving. Big creatures. Dangerous creatures. Security Chief Hana appeared beside him. She moved quietly, like a shadow. Her rifle was strapped to her back, and her eyes never stopped scanning the area around them. We have movement in the eastern forest, she said. Something big. Maybe more than one. How big? The sensors say each one is about the size of a shuttle. June took a deep breath. Creatures the size of shuttles. On a planet with double gravity and poison air. This was not going to be easy. Set up defensive positions, he ordered. Put our best shooters on watch. If anything comes close, we hit it with everything we have. Hannah nodded. Already done, Captain. I also found some explosive charges in the cargo hold. If we need to, we can make the ground shake. Good thinking. June looked at her with respect. How is the crew holding up? Hannah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, They are scared, Captain. But they are also angry. Angry at this planet for trying to kill us. That anger is keeping them moving. Good. We will meet that anger. Night came quickly on Kareth 4. The temperature dropped, but the air stayed thick and heavy. The crew gathered around fires made from burning fuel cells. The flames cast strange shadows on the walls of their makeshift camp. June stood in the center and addressed his people. Their faces were tired and dirty. Some of them had bandages on their wounds, but all of them were looking at him with trust in their eyes. I will not lie to you, June said. We are in a bad situation. This planet does not want us here. The air is poison. The gravity is crushing. And somewhere out there, things are waiting to eat us. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the crackling of the fires. But we are human, June continued. And humans do not give up. We did not conquer Earth by being weak. We did not reach the stars by being afraid. We are here because our ancestors faced impossible odds and said, No, we will live. And that is exactly what we are going to do. He pointed at the dark sky above them. Somewhere up there, people are waiting for us. Our families. Our friends. They do not know we crashed. They do not know we are alive. But we are going to tell them. We are going to rebuild our beacon, call for rescue, and walk off this rock with our heads held high. A young engineer named Day raised his hand. What if rescue does not come, Captain? June smiled. It was a hard smile, full of iron. Then we build a new home here. We farm the land. We hunt the creatures. We make this planet ours. Because that is what humans do. We do not die quietly. We do not surrender. We adapt. We survive. We win. The crew was silent for a moment. Then someone started clapping. Others joined in. Soon the whole camp was cheering, their voices rising into the poisoned sky. That night, the first attack came. The creature burst from the forest like a nightmare made flesh. It had 6 legs, each one as thick as a tree trunk. Its body was covered in hard black armor. Its mouth was full of teeth that glowed faintly in the dark dot. It came straight for the camp. Moving faster than anything that Sai should move. Hana was ready. Fire! She shouted. 20 rifles opened up at once. Bullets slammed into the creature's armor, making sparks fly. The beast roared in pain and anger, but it did not stop. It kept coming, crushing everything in its path. Aim for the joints, Hana commanded. The soft spots between the plates. The shooters adjusted their aim. One bullet found the creature's knee. Another hit its neck. The beast stumbled, crashing to the ground just meters from the outer wall. But it was not dead. It tried to rise, its 6 legs scrambling against the dirt. June stepped forward with a cutting torch from the ship's wreckage. He walked calmly toward the fallen creature, his eyes locked on its glowing mouth. "Captain, no!" Someone shouted, but June did not stop. He reached the creature's head and drove the torch into its eye. The beast screamed once, then went still. Silence fell over the camp. June pulled the torch free and turned to face his crew. He was covered in the creature's blood, but his expression was calm. "Dinner is served," he said. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Tay started laughing. Others joined him. Soon the whole camp was laughing, relief and pride mixing together in the cold night air. They butchered the creature before dawn. Its meat was tough but edible. Its hide was thick and strong, perfect for reinforcing their shelters. Its bones could be used as tools. By the time the sun rose, the humans of Kurath 4 had already begun to adapt. The planet had tried to kill them. They had killed it back, and somewhere far above, hidden in orbit, the probes of the Galactic Concord recorded everything. The Watchers saw humans eat the flesh of monsters. They saw humans build walls from wreckage and bones. They saw humans smile and joke, even as death surrounded them. And the Watchers began to understand why the ancient archives had said to avoid this species. Humans were not conquerors. They were survivors. And there was nothing in the universe more dangerous than a survivor who refused to stop fighting. The High Council of the Galactic Concord met in a chamber that had existed for 10,000 years. The room was vast and circular, with seats rising in tiers around a central platform. Representatives from 300 species filled those seats, their bodies as different as their worlds. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no solid form at all. But today, every single one of them was looking at the same thing. The footage from Kurath 4 played on a massive screen that floated above the central platform. It showed the humans building, hunting, surviving. It showed them killing a creature that had slaughtered entire Concord expeditions. It showed them eating its flesh and wearing its skin. When the footage ended, the chamber was silent. No one knew what to say. Admiral Keth was the first to speak. He was a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, each one covered in military medals. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "This is a threat," he declared. "These humans crashed on a Class 3 world and turned it into their home in less than a week. They killed one of the apex predators of Kurath 4 with primitive weapons. They are adapting to an environment that should have destroyed them in hours." He pointed one of his 4 arms at the screen. "Imagine what they could do to our worlds. Imagine what they could do to us." Ambassador Vrel rose from his seat. His voice was calmer, but no less serious. "Admiral, we do not know that they are hostile. They have not attacked anyone. They have not threatened anyone. They are simply trying to survive. Today they survive, Kath replied. Tomorrow they thrive. And the day after that? They look at our worlds and decide they want them. This is how conquerors begin, Ambassador. They start small and grow until nothing can stop them. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many representatives were nodding their heads. Fear was spreading like a disease. A small voice spoke up from the lower tiers. It belonged to Officer Sierra, a young communication specialist who had been brought to the meeting because of her discovery. If I may speak, she said nervously. All eyes turned to her. Sierra swallowed hard but continued. I intercepted a piece of the human's distress signal. I have been working to translate it. May I share what I found? Rel nodded. Please. Sierra touched a button on her tablet, and a new sound filled the chamber. It was a human voice, speaking in their strange language. Below the sound, Sierra's translation appeared in text. This is Captain June of the research vessel Horizon's Edge. We have crash-landed on an unknown planet. 17 crew members lost. 32 survivors. We are establishing a base camp and working to repair our distress beacon. Requesting rescue at earliest convenience. The crew is in good spirits. We have begun exploration of local resources and will continue to document our findings. Horizon's Edge sends regards. June, commanding. The message ended. Silence filled the chamber again. Good spirits, Kath repeated, his voice full of disbelief. They crashed on a death world, and they are in good spirits. Requesting rescue at earliest convenience, another representative added. As if they have time to wait. As if they are not in danger. Sierra cleared her throat. There is more, Admiral. I analyzed their signal patterns. The humans have been broadcasting regularly. Not just distress calls, but other things. What other things? Sierra looked embarrassed. Music, sir. Stories. Something that seems like jokes or personal messages. They are communicating with each other for entertainment. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives were talking over each other, their voices mixing together in confusion and fear. Entertainment? Someone shouted. They are entertaining themselves on Kareth 4. This is madness. What kind of creatures are they? Vrel raised his hands for silence. Slowly the noise died down. We are letting fear control us, he said firmly. These humans have done nothing wrong. They crashed by accident. They are surviving by necessity. Nothing they have done suggests they wish to harm anyone. Kath stepped forward, his metals clinking together. Then why do the ancient records tell us to avoid them, Ambassador? Why did our ancestors mark them as dangerous? They knew something we have forgotten. They knew that humans are not like us. How are they different? Vrel asked. Kath pulled up more footage on the screen. This time, it showed the humans gathered around their fires at night. They were talking, laughing, some of them singing songs. Look at them, Kath said. They have lost friends. They are trapped on a hostile world. They should be broken. They should be waiting to die. Instead, they sing. They tell stories. They find joy in the middle of disaster. He turned to face the council, his eyes hard. That is not normal, Ambassador. That is not how rational beings behave. They do not feel fear the way we do. They do not accept death the way we do. And that makes them unpredictable. Unpredictable things are dangerous. Vrel shook his head slowly. Or perhaps it makes them brave, Admiral. Perhaps it makes them hopeful? Those are not crimes. Hope is a weapon, Kath replied darkly. A species that never loses hope never stops fighting. And a species that never stops fighting cannot be controlled. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives agreed with Kath. They wanted to send ships to destroy the humans before they could become a threat. Others agreed with Vrel. They wanted to wait, observe, and perhaps make peaceful contact. In the end, The council made a compromise. They would not attack the humans, but they would not contact them either. Instead, they would watch and learn. They would send more probes to Kareth 4. They would study these strange creatures and try to understand them. Officer Sierra was given a special assignment. She would analyze every signal the humans sent. She would learn their language, their customs, their thoughts. She would become the Concord's expert on humanity. As the council meeting ended, Sierra stayed behind in the empty chamber. She replayed the human message one more time, listening to Captain June's voice. The crew is in good spirits. She tried to imagine what that meant. Her own species, the Vel, were logical and careful. When they faced danger, they calculated odds and made rational decisions. They did not have good spirits. They had acceptable outcomes and unacceptable outcomes, but humans were different. They faced the worst the universe could offer, and they smiled. They lost everything, and they sang. They stared into the darkness, and they told jokes. Sierra did not know if that made humans dangerous or admirable. Maybe it was both. She pulled up more footage from Kareth 4. The humans had built walls now. Real walls, made of stone and metal. They had cleared land for farming. They had dug wells for water. In just a few days, they had transformed a death camp into a village. One human caught her attention. It was the security chief, the one called Hana. She was sitting alone on a rock, watching the sunset. Her face was tired, but there was something in her eyes that Sierra could not name. It was not fear. It was not despair. It was something else. Something that burned like a quiet fire. Later, Sierra would learn the human word for it. They called it determination. And as she watched Hana stand up and walk back to her duties, Sierra realized something important. The Admiral was wrong. Humans were not dangerous because they had no fear. They were dangerous because they had fear, and they kept going anyway. That was the most terrifying thing of all. Lieutenant Fenn had flown scout missions for 12 years. He had visited worlds of ice and worlds of fire. He had mapped asteroid fields and charted nebulas. He had seen things that most beings would never see. But he had never been truly afraid until he entered the atmosphere of Karath-4. His mission was simple. Fly down, observe the humans from a safe distance, record everything, and return. The council wanted more detailed footage. They wanted to see the humans up close. Fenn had volunteered for the mission because he was curious. He had watched the footage like everyone else. He had seen these strange two-legged creatures walk through poison and gravity as if they were nothing. He wanted to understand how they did it. Now, as his small scout ship shook violently in the thick atmosphere, he was starting to regret that curiosity. The storm came out of nowhere. One moment the sky was calm. The next moment, winds stronger than anything Fenn had ever felt were tearing at his ship. Lightning crashed around him. His instruments went dark. Alarms screamed in his ears. He tried to pull up, to escape back into space. But the storm was too strong. It grabbed his ship like a toy and threw it toward the ground. Fenn saw the forest rushing up to meet him. He had just enough time to think one word before impact. Humans. He woke up in pain. His ship was a wreck around him. Metal beams had collapsed, trapping his legs. Something warm was running down his face. Blood. His blood. Through his cracked cockpit window, he could see the forest outside. The yellow mist curled between twisted trees. Strange sounds echoed in the distance. The cries of predators. Fenn tried to move, but his legs were pinned. He tried to call for help, but his radio was dead. He was alone, injured, on the surface of Karath-4. He was going to die. Dawn passed slowly. The sun began to set, and the temperature dropped. Fenn could feel his strength fading. His species did not handle cold well. Without help, he would be dead before morning. Then he heard something. Footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Crunching through the undergrowth. His heart pounded with terror. One of the predators had found him. It was coming to finish him off. He closed his eyes and waited for the end. Hey, there's someone in here. Fenn's eyes snapped open. That was not a predator's voice. It was a human voice. Faces appeared at his broken window. Human faces with strange round eyes and flat noses. They were wearing masks and carrying lights. One of them had hair as dark as space. The dark-haired human leaned closer and spoke into a small device. The device made sounds that Fenn could understand. Can you hear me? Are you hurt? Fenn could only stare. Humans, real humans, standing right in front of him. He looked scared, another human said. This one was smaller, with gentle eyes. We need to get him out. The first human nodded. Yuna, can you cut through this metal? The smaller human, Yuna, pulled out a tool from her belt. Give me 5 minutes. Fenn watched in amazement as Yuna began cutting through the twisted metal that trapped him. Sparks flew in the darkness. The other humans formed a circle around the ship, their weapons pointed outward. Watching for predators. It did not make sense. Fenn was a stranger, an alien. He was from the people who had been watching them, studying them like animals in a cage. They should be angry with him. They should leave him to die, but they were saving him instead. Yuna finished cutting, and strong hands reached in to pull Fenn free. Pain shot through his legs, and he cried out. Immediately, another human was at his side. This one had a bag full of medical supplies. Easy, easy, the human said. His translator called him Tay. You have broken bones. I need to set them before we move you. This will hurt. It did hurt. It hurt more than anything Fenn had ever felt. But Tay worked quickly and carefully, wrapping Fenn's legs in bandages and splints. When it was done, 2 other humans lifted Fenn gently and placed him on a stretcher. We need to move, the first human said. His translator identified him as June, the captain. It will be dark soon. The big ones hunt at night. They carried Fenn through the forest. The journey took almost an hour. Several times, they had to stop and hide as massive shapes moved through the mist. The humans never panicked. They just waited quietly until the danger passed, then continued on. When they finally reached the human camp, Fenn could not believe his eyes. It was not the crude wreckage he had seen in the footage from above. It was a real settlement. There were walls made of stone and metal. There were buildings with roofs. There was smoke rising from cooking fires and lights glowing in windows. They had built a village. In just 2 weeks, on a Class 3 planet, they had built a village. The humans carried Fenn to a large tent that served as their medical center. They laid him on a soft bed and covered him with warm blankets. Tay gave him something for the pain. A woman named Hana brought him water to drink. Then Captain June sat down beside his bed. You were watching us, June said. It was not a question. Fenn nodded slowly. There was no point in lying. Your people are afraid of us. Another nod. June smiled. It was a strange expression, showing teeth. On Fenn's world, showing teeth was a threat. But somehow, from this human, it seemed friendly. We will not hurt you, June said. You are injured and alone. We will take care of you until your people come to get you. Until then, you are our guest. Fenn did not understand. Why? He asked. His voice was weak and cracked. You do not know me. I am not one of you. Why would you help me? June was quiet for a moment. Then he said, On our world, there is an old saying. A stranger is just a friend you have not met yet. Fenn stared at him. That does not make sense. No, June agreed. It does not. But we believe it anyway. That is what makes us human. Over the next few days, Fen experienced things he never thought possible. The humans fed him from their own supplies. They told him stories about their world, their families, their dreams. They taught him how to play a game with cards and laughed when he won by accident. He learned their names. Yuna, who fixed machines and never stopped working. Tay, who loved to study new things and asked Fen endless questions about his people. Hannah, who seemed tough and cold but secretly brought him extra blankets when she thought no one was watching. And June, the captain, who visited every night to check on him and talk about the stars. We were exploring, June told him one evening. That is why we were out here. We wanted to see what was beyond our borders. Find new worlds, new species, new friends. You found a death world instead, Fen said. June laughed. We found a challenge. Same thing to humans. Fen's legs healed faster than expected. Tay said it was because his species had good bones. Fen suspected it was because humans somehow made even broken bodies feel hopeful. On his 10th night in the human camp, Fen sat around the fire with the rest of the crew. They were singing a song he did not understand, but the melody was beautiful. For the first time since his crash, he did not feel afraid. He felt something else. Something he had never felt before around another species. He felt at home. When the Concorde ships finally appeared in the sky, Fen felt a strange sadness. He did not want to leave. But he knew he had to. As he prepared to board the rescue shuttle, Captain June approached him one last time. Tell your people the truth, June said. Tell them we are not monsters. We are just people, trying to live and explore and make friends. Tell them we would like to meet them properly someday. Fen took the captain's hand and shook it, the way he had learned humans did. I will tell them, he promised. I will tell them everything. And he did. Ambassador Vrel stood on the bridge of his diplomatic vessel and watched HFY grow larger through the window. The planet looked peaceful from space, a ball of yellow and green clouds hiding the horrors below. But Vrel knew what those clouds concealed. He knew about the crushing gravity, the toxic air, the creatures that lived to kill. He also knew that humans had made it their home. The reports from Lieutenant Fen had changed everything. When Fen returned to the council chamber, he did not speak of monsters or threats or dangers. He spoke of kindness. He spoke of warmth. He spoke of people who had saved his life, simply because it was the right thing to do. Some council members did not believe him. Admiral Keth accused Fen of being tricked, of having his mind manipulated by human technology. But most of the council listened. They saw the truth in Fen's eyes. They heard the emotion in his voice. These humans were not what the ancient archives said they were. Or perhaps the archives had been wrong all along. The council voted to make contact. Official, peaceful contact. And they chose Ambassador Vrel to lead the mission. Now, as his ship descended through the yellow clouds, Vrel felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt hope. The ship landed at the edge of the human settlement. Through his window, Vrel could see walls of stone and metal, buildings with proper roofs, gardens growing in soil that humans had cleaned of poison. It was remarkable. It was impossible. It was real. He stepped out of his ship and onto the surface of HFY. The gravity pressed down on him like a heavy weight. Even with his suit protecting him from the toxic air, he could feel how harsh this world was. And yet, the humans lived here. They thrived here. A small group was walking toward him. At the front was a man with broad shoulders and calm eyes. Behind him came others, some carrying tools, some carrying medical supplies. One of them, a woman with sharp features, kept her hand near her weapon but did not draw it. The man at the front stopped a few meters away. He looked at Vrel with curiosity, not fear. Ambassador Vrel, the man said through a translation device. I am Captain June. Welcome to New Hope. New Hope? Vrel repeated. June smiled and gestured at the settlement behind him. That is what we named our village. It seemed right. Vrel looked at the village. He saw humans going about their daily lives. Some were cooking food. Some were building new structures. Children were running between the buildings, playing games. Children. The humans had brought their young ones to a Class 3 planet. And those young ones were laughing. You have done something remarkable here, Captain, Vrel said honestly. My people have tried to colonize worlds like this for thousands of years. We have always failed. Yet you succeeded in just a few weeks. June shrugged. We did what we had to do. When you cannot go back, you go forward. That is the human way. They walked together through the village. Vrel saw wonders at every turn. A water purification system built from crashed ship parts. A greenhouse where plants from Earth grew beside local vegetables that had been made safe to eat. A power station that ran on energy from underground heat vents. The humans had not just survived. They had created a future. How many of you are there now? Vrel asked. 32 adults, 15 children, June replied. More are being born every month. This world tried to kill us, Ambassador. Now we are raising families here. They reached the center of the village, where a large fire pit sat surrounded by stone benches. June invited Vrel to sit, and the ambassador accepted. Other humans gathered around them, curious but not hostile. Vrel recognized some faces from Fenn's descriptions. There was Yuna, the engineer, her hands still covered in grease from some machine she had been fixing. There was Tay, the doctor, his eyes bright with the same curiosity Fenn had described. And there was Hana, the security chief, standing at the edge of the crowd with her arms crossed, watching Vrel carefully. Lieutenant Fenn spoke very highly of all of you, Vrel said. He said you saved his life when you had no reason to. We had every reason, June replied. He was hurt. He needed help. That was reason enough. Your officer said you have rules about such things, Yuna added. Rules about when to help and when to walk away. We do not have those rules. If someone needs help, we help. It is simple. Vrel thought about this. His own species, and many others in the Concord, had complex systems for deciding who deserved aid and who did not. Resources were precious. You could not waste them on strangers. But humans did not think that way. To them, every stranger was a potential friend. Every enemy was a potential ally. They gave help freely because they believed that kindness would come back to them somehow. It was irrational. It was inefficient. And yet, looking at what they had built on this death world, Vrel could not say it was wrong. Captain, Vrel said slowly, choosing his words with care. My people have been watching you since you crashed here. We were afraid of you. Some of us still are. The ancient records called humans dangerous, and we believed those records. June nodded but said nothing. But I have seen what you do when you face danger. You do not run. You do not hide. You build. You create. You turn enemies into resources and disasters into opportunities. You find joy in the darkest places and share the joy with anyone who needs it. He paused, looking around at the faces of the humans gathered near the fire. We thought you were conquerors. We thought you would see our worlds and want to take them. But that is not what you are, is it? June shook his head. We are explorers, Ambassador. We are builders. We are dreamers. We left our home because we wanted to see what was out there. We wanted to meet new people and learn new things. We did not come to conquer anyone. Then what do you want? June extended his hand toward Vrel. It was a human gesture, Vrel knew. A sign of friendship and trust. We want to be friends, June said simply. We want to be neighbors. We want to sit around fires like this one and share stories and learn from each other. That is all we have ever wanted." Vrel looked at the extended hand. In that moment, he understood something important about humans. They were not dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they were kind. Kindness, true kindness, was the most powerful force in the universe. It could not be defeated. It could not be conquered. It spread from person to person like a fire, warming everything it touched. The ancient records had warned the Concord to avoid humans. Perhaps those ancient observers had been afraid of what would happen if humans spread their kindness across the galaxy. Perhaps they had been afraid that everything would change. Vrel reached out and took June's hand. The human's grip was warm and firm. "Then let us be friends," Vrel said. A cheer went up from the gathered humans. Someone started playing music. Someone else brought out food and drinks. Within minutes, the formal diplomatic meeting had turned into a celebration. Vrel found himself sitting next to Hannah, the security chief. She was eating something that smelled strange, but looked delicious. "You do not trust me," Vrel said. Hannah glanced at him. "No," she admitted. "But I did not trust Fen either, and he turned out okay. Give me time." "Fair enough." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the celebration. Humans and aliens dancing around the fire, learning each other's songs, sharing food and stories. This was the beginning, Vrel realized. The beginning of something new. The humans had come to the galaxy by accident, but they would stay by choice. And they would change everything they touched, not through war, not through conquest, through kindness. The next morning, Vrel prepared to return to the council. Before he left, Captain June gave him a small gift. It was a seed from one of the plants humans had brought from Earth. "Plant this somewhere nice," June said. "It will grow into something beautiful. That is our gift to your people. Something to remember us by." Vrel held the tiny seed in his palm. Such a small thing. But humans believed that small things could grow into great things. They believed that one seed could become a forest. Looking at what they had built on Kareth 4, Vrel was starting to believe it too. When he returned to the council, Vrel gave his report. He told them about New Hope. He told them about human kindness and human determination. He told them that the ancient warnings were wrong. And then he showed them the seed. "They gave us a piece of their world," he said. "They want to share it with us. They want to share everything with us. Not because they want something in return, but because that is who they are." The council voted to officially welcome humans into the Galactic Concord. The vote was not even close, and in the archives, the old entry was finally updated. Species 7841. Humans. Homeworld. Earth. Status. Welcome. On Kareth 4. In the village called New Hope, Captain June looked up at the stars and smiled. The galaxy had been afraid of them. Now it was opening its arms. The universe was vast and full of wonders. And humanity was ready to meet it all, one friendship at a time. That was the human way. It always had been. And now, finally, the galaxy would learn what that truly meant. The end was just the beginning.